Okay, Pathfinder First Edition's big 6 items. This is pretty much one of the hardest parts of making a character, in my opinion. It's up there with feats and spells, but even when you have an idea of what feats and spells are good, gear is something that so many new players just can't wrap their head around. And especially if, for instance, it's your first campaign, you've played from level 1 to 5, been alright, and then all of a sudden you die, you have thousands and thousands. It's something like 9 or 10,000 gold to come in with at level 5. At level 9, it's 46,000, which is just mind-boggling, especially when you consider the amount of gold you start with at level 1. So this is kind of just a really quick video on these 6 items that apply to every single character. They are assumed parts of the game, and once you have this, when it comes to items and making a character, you don't even really have to think about it. Then you can start looking for like edge case items like, ooh, maybe I want something that gives me a key pool, ooh, maybe I need something that's going to increase my one specific skill. These items will take up the majority of your budget and make things simpler. So in this video, I'm going to really quickly be covering what are these items, a few honorable mentions, why they're important. We're going to be looking at when to buy them and in what order. We're going to be looking at alternatives for your game right at the end there. So what are they? First up is a magic weapon. If you use a longsword, maybe you get a longsword that's on fire, you know? These usually give an enhancement bonus to attack and damage, and are really useful for overcoming a lot of resistances. DR magic is super common, that's damage reduction overcome by magic. Even if you're a fighter with a sword, you'll still be able to at least hurt ghosts. Who doesn't want to hurt a ghost? Magic armor or braces of armor, again, are an enhancement or armor bonus to AC. The reason why types of bonuses matter is because majority of the time, the same type of bonus doesn't stack together. If I have an enhancement bonus to my armor because it's magic, and then someone casts a spell that gives it another enhancement bonus, they don't both add up together, it's only the highest one that applies. Braces of armor are really useful for things like arcane casters, your wizards and your sorcerers, and also monks who can't wear armor, because they don't count as armor, but they give you an armor bonus. Now, that might seem completely counterintuitive, but essentially what it means is it's like you get armor, but you don't have to actually wear armor and lose your monk powers or have an arcane spell failure chance. Cloak of Resistance, this is such a lifesaver. It's so hard to increase your saving throws without using up valuable feat slots or being a halfling. This will save your life and is so crucial. Now, resistance bonuses are very common, but that's because every character kind of wants them anyway. So when you get a resistance bonus, they're really good if you don't have Cloak of Resistance yet, and then they kind of just upgrade that Cloak of Resistance. Next up, Ring of Protection. Deflection bonus just adds to your AC. Also applies to your touch AC, which is really nice. It's an AC bonus that applies to every kind of AC and just doesn't go away. You pop it on, you're a little harder to kill. Beautiful. Your belt or headband of insert your main ability here. Your belt of giant strength, your headband of alluring charisma, that kind of thing. Another enhancement bonus that applies to an ability score. The main thing is that if you're a sorcerer, if you have higher charisma, you're better at everything you do. If you're a rogue and you have higher dex, you are better at everything you do. This gives bonuses to usually your attack, often your damage, your most important skills, sometimes a really important saving throw. Just incredibly good. The only problem is that these are the cheapest of 4,000 gold. So if you're just starting out, you're not going to get them for a while. Phenomenal stuff. Amulet of Natural Armor, similar to a Ring of Protection, except natural armor bonus only applies to regular AC and flat-footed. It doesn't apply to your touch AC, but it is more AC. And the thing about Pathfinder is AC goes up and up and up and up. If you're used to 5th edition, that is not the case. Couple of honorable mentions. First one, of course, the Wand of Cure Light Wounds. The way wands work in Pathfinder is they have 50 charges of a spell, in this case Cure Light Wounds, which does 1d8 plus 1 healing on a cast. If you don't have a cleric and you're worried your party doesn't have a healer, 750 gold and that's your healing. I've never been in a party that doesn't use this, unless they're using this, the Wand of Infernal Healing. Now this one comes with a little bit of a caveat, but it's 750 gold for 50 charges, first level spell, but each cast does 10 health over 1 minute. So it's 1 health per round. That's obviously out of combat, so much better than Cure Light Wounds. Cure Light Wounds tops out at 9, right? And that's only if you're lucky. The problem is, one, it takes a minute, so in combat, useless. If someone's dying and you need to quickly stabilize them, can't really use Infernal Healing. It's not going to bring them up to a meaningful amount of health. The other problem is that it can take time. One person getting 100 health means they have to stand there for 10 minutes. My last session, which was an insane session, I had a character die, brought in a new character, and then they died all within 12 minutes of in-game time. Now, obviously, that's not a normal thing to happen, but it was... oh, it was a session. I cried with laughter, but in-game time does matter. Now, the other big caveat of this is it's Infernal Healing. You have to use Devil's Blood to cast this spell, and whoever you cast it on detects as evil. It says right there in the spell, like in the text of the spell, it will not have any kind of long-term effect on your alignment. However, that doesn't mean that your Cleric of Sarenrae is going to want to detect as a devil. It really, you gotta check with your party. If no one's playing a paladin, no one's playing a cleric, they're probably gonna be fine with it. A lot of the time it gets to a certain point where your paladin and cleric will be like, if this is what it takes, this is what it takes, you know? Again, check with your party. Some people will be like, my character will not accept this healing. Next up, Bag of Holding. It's an actual classic, but so many people forget to pick it up. It's 2,500 gold for a little bag. I'm not sure what the size of the outside of the bag is, but the inside is 30 cubic feet and holds 250 pounds of storage. You don't need to buy a cart and load everything up, although that is incredibly fun. Having a roaming home base it should be an honorable mention here. Carts are dirt cheap. You get a cart and 2 horses to carry it for like less than 100 gold. But a Bag of Holding isn't going to get robbed while you're somewhere else. When do I buy them, and in what order? First answer is actually pretty simple. Get them as soon as possible. These items are your baseline items. They're kind of baked into the game. You want them to be on you as soon as possible. What order you actually get them is going to vary from game to game, obviously. If you're playing an undead heavy game, if you have the opportunity to choose between getting your Undead Bane quicker or getting +1 AC, maybe you want to get the Undead Bane quicker. Obviously, if everyone's got guns, it's some kind of gunslinger campaign, increasing your armor is not really going to do much because they target touch AC. But the main thing of when to get which item and in what order is realize your character's fantasy first. You have a picture in your head of your character. When you picture that character, what's more important? Do they have a magic shield or do they have a flaming sword? Realize what makes your character, because that helps you express yourself through your character. All of that said, this is the order that I would recommend to someone who has no idea what they're doing. First off, +1 Cloak of Resistance. It only costs 1,000 gold. It is the cheapest of these items, and yet it is incredibly effective. +1 every single save is so valuable. For 1,000 gold, holy, this will save your life. Saving throws are what kill characters. Next up is a +1 magic weapon. +1 hit and damage is the equivalent of having an extra 2 strength, or an extra 2 dex and 2 strength. It makes you better at hitting things, and when you do hit them, you hit them better. It bypasses a whole heap of really common damage reductions, and even lets you hit ghosts. +1 magic armor. This also goes for shields. If you are up in the front lines, or you are a melee character, or even if you aren't a melee character, magic armor will save your life. It's cheap, it's only 2,000 gold, and again, makes it less likely that you get hit. You don't make a character that you want to die, right? I mean, if you do, have fun with it. Ring of Protection +1. I'd actually probably put this above magic armor. It's only 2,000 gold, its bonus to AC also applies to your touch AC, and that touch AC will get you every time. It's those shocking grasps. Disintegrate. It will save you so much, and it only costs 2,000 gold. Belt or headband of your main ability. Again, that's that headband of Lure and Charisma for a sorcerer, your belt of incredible dexterity for a rogue, what have you. It makes you better at your main thing, right? If you're a spellcaster and you get that in your spellcasting stat, it gives you more spells per day, it can get you up to extra spells known, and it can even make your damage go up. if you're not a spellcaster and a martial character, it makes you more likely to hit, and when you do, it will usually make you do more damage. The only reason it's not higher is that it's 4,000 gold. It's double or more than everything else on this list. For good reason, because not only does it make you better at the main thing you do, it also has a bunch of little side benefits. This will affect more skills than you realize 99% of the time. All of a sudden, you're sitting there going, oh right, I'm actually like not terrible at Disabled Device. I can give it a go. It rounds out your character a little bit more. Last off is your Braces of Armor / Amulet of Natural Armor. These are 2,000 and then 8,000 gold for the +2. They round out your defense, but they don't help your touch AC, so it's not as good. Now, you've probably been looking at this and either going, yeah, cool, sweet, now I know what to do, or you've been sitting there with your arms crossed, frumping about how this is why 2nd edition and 5th edition are better, because, I have to get these items to do what I want. I get it, I really do. But if you reckon this sucks, here is the #1 alternative that isn't playing a different game. Automatic bonus progression is a system introduced, I believe it was Ultimate Combat, but there are so many Pathfinder books and I use the wikis, books are expensive. Basically, you look at this table and what it does is instead of buying all of these items, you just get those bonuses automatically. Crazy how it says it in the name. Looking at this, for instance, at level 3, when you're expected to have Cloak of Resistance, instead you just get the bonus. You don't need to worry about buying it. Those bonuses just apply when you reach those levels. Now, pros and cons. I don't personally play with this, and I actually haven't played with this, and these are kind of the reasons I've mixed and matched with it. Pros, let's get a track. You don't have to worry about who gets what item in what order, you just get it, right? It means you don't worry about it. It also means that in general you're going to have less gold to track. You're not going to sit there going, what is 8,645 gold divided between 4 people? Because you get all this gear automatically, that's not going to come into it. It means don't fall behind. When you do split up the gear, you don't have that one person who maybe doesn't speak up as much, maybe they're a little nerd, they don't deserve the gear. They're not going to fall behind because everyone just gets it. There's not going to be the one frontline fighter who has the ring, the amulet, the magic shield, the magic armor, and the magic weapon, while your wizard in the back is like, yeah, I cast spells, but like, I get something. This eliminates that. It means that when you do find a magic item, you don't go, oh yeah, +1 AC, yeah, alright, I guess, you want it? Yeah, okay. Instead, it's, this ring lets you fit your entire foot in your mouth, swallow yourself to grant yourself evasion, or that kind of thing. Magic gear becomes more impactful because it has room to be, because there isn't all of these slots taken up by rings of protection and amulets of natural armor. Now, when it comes to cons, you have less treasure to plunder. Personally, when I get to the end of a dungeon and there's a big pile of treasure, I want it to be a big pile. I don't want to think, oh, I got 50 silver pieces, hell yeah. I want to be using my bag of holding to transport this back to town. Yeah, it might be stupid, but when a dragon's sitting on a mountain of gold, let's make it a mountain, yeah? You do actually end up with a little less build expression, in my opinion. You're probably looking at this thinking, how is this less build expression? I'm now no longer restricted to having to get these items. But if, for instance, you look at level 4, you get armor achievement +1 and weapon achievement +1. I don't get to be a knight in shining armor who has to now pick between, do I want my lance to be better or do I want my shield to be better? Very minor thing, but it's that kind of thing that, you know, that's what Pathfinder is about, you know, that little granularity. So yeah, it can end up in your character feeling a little less unique through it. And it actually ends up being, while it's less gear to track while handing it out, it means it's just moved that amount of bookkeeping to when you level up. So as opposed to mid-session when you identify a ring of protection, you go, okay, let me just really quickly rub out my AC, add it in, that might not seem like much, but when it's a +4 headband and you previously had nothing, all of a sudden here's 10 skills that now get modified and all of my spells. Some people, when they see that in the middle of a session, think, oh, that's going to slow us down. That's going to be a little, oof, that's not going to be great. But it's really just moved that bookkeeping to when you level up. Personally, I like to keep it more spread out, especially if you play with a GM who lets you level up mid-session. A lot of GMs don't do that, but it's one more thing to miss when you level up. And let's be real, a lot of new players, leveling up is incredibly intimidating. You have over 3,000 spells, 2,000 feats or something like that. You have all of that to pick from. Now all of a sudden you have to add a little bit more bookkeeping. And that really is the end of the video. This is a bit of an experiment. I don't even know what I'm going to call this YouTube channel yet. I want to do more, but I kind of have this style of video where I've just got dot points and I just kind of ramble and rant into the microphone, and I have a couple of scripted ones coming up. If you've made it this far, I hope you've learned something. I hope this is a good resource, but I also am not sure if this is the format going forward. I'm going to try it out with some scripted stuff, see how it goes. Cheers for watching. If you hit subscribe, that'd be cool. If you don't, yeah, go on, whatever. Any feedback, super appreciated. I know my mic's awful, I know I've just ranted or rambled for about 30 minutes, but yeah.